They say every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they want to.
Come on, for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Hello viewers, we're glad to have you join us on yet another edition of your must-watch program, Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. I am Murna Barnabas Atiai. Today on the program, we shall turn our attention to ICPC's effort in tackling the activities of visa racketeers. ICPC got into the fight against visa scams sometime in mid-2013 when it received complaints of anomalies in the visa acquisition processes by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and some foreign embassies in Nigeria, which had been infiltrated by touts and fraudulent people who sometimes employed fake documents to help to procure visas for intending travelers, while in other cases they produced fake visas for undeserving people. These embassies and high commissions include Indian High Commission, British High Commission, Embassy of the United States of America, and Egyptian Embassy, among many others. As a result of investigations, ICPC arrested over 30 persons and charged a number of them to court, while over 300 passports were seized. These and many other exciting segments will come your way after this anti-corruption update by Hawa Sani Garba.
Welcome to this segment of Corruption Must Go. My name is Hawa Sani Garba. ICPC has charged a former chairman of Nkparenem local government area of Akwa Ibom State, Mr. Ephraim Sunday Akpan, to court for allegedly embezzling 55.8 million naira belonging to the local government. The commission, in a 24-count charge filed before Justice Achibong of Akwa Ibom State High Court 4, sitting in Uyo, accused Mr. Akpan of abuse of office while acting as chairman of Nkparenem local government area, contrary to Section 19 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000, and punishable under the same section. The ex-council boss, who was chairman of the local government from June 2012 to June 2015, and later caretaker chairman of the same council from June 2015 to June 2016, was also accused of collecting a bribe of 3 million naira from a contractor in violation of Section 8 of the same Act and punishable under the same section. The Commission, while acting on a petition on alleged fraudulent activities of Mr. Akpan from an NGO called Center for International Peace and Development in Nigeria, found out that the former local government chairman allegedly used 55,670,000 naira of the council's funds between June and October 2014 to build the Godswill Akpabio Gas and Oil Academy, which has been abandoned. Mr. Akpan pleaded not guilty to all the charges when they were read to him and was admitted to bail by the court. Justice Achibong, in his ruling, granted the accused bail in sum of 15 million naira and 2 sureties in like sum. The judge further ruled that the 2 sureties must deposit an affidavit of means and must not be below grade level 16 in the civil service or its equivalent. Other conditions attached to the bail by Justice Achibong included the 2 sureties bringing letters of identification from 2 prominent citizens of Akwa Ibom of occupancy of the properties, which must be deposited with the registrar of the court. The case was then adjourned to 25th October 2017 for hearing. The Anti-Corruption Academy of Nigeria, ACAN, the training and research arm of ICPC, is the beneficiary of invaluable anti-corruption training materials donated by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC. The materials, which consist of book copies of a survey on corruption carried out in Nigeria by UNODC in conjunction with the National Bureau of Statistics, hundreds of copies of anti-corruption literature and corruption prevention training manuals were donated to the Academy during a brief ceremony at the ICPC headquarters in Abuja recently. Making the presentation of the materials, the project coordinator of UNODC, Mr. Polik Oke-Sere, said the items represent assistance from the European Union as support to the government of Nigeria under the project Support to Anti-Corruption in Nigeria, which is being implemented by the UNODC.
ACAN Corruption Prevention Training Manual. So, as our friend just said, it comes at the conclusion of forward development training and trainers. So, we're all extremely well equipped to make full use of them, and not only the book itself, but also with the trainers that go with it. So, as I was saying, we would be extremely interested in a couple of weeks or months to hear back from you, so that we can report back to our reporters and also to the European Union as to the type of use that you've made of this manual. But this, together with the training curriculum that Professor Ali had developed, and the books that are for your library, should provide Nigerian anti-corruption officers with a good package to understand better about the very different methods of preventing corruption.
In his response, while receiving the gift on behalf of the Commission, the Secretary to the Commission, Dr. Elvis Oglafa, said that the Commission was humbled by the recognition of its achievement in the area of anti-corruption. He vowed that such commendations can only serve to spur it to greater achievements, adding that the training materials received would be utilized to the maximum for an improved campaign to prevent corruption in the country. It may be recalled that ICPC had embarked on several corruption prevention strategies, including the corruption risk assessment of Nigerian port and aviation sectors, e-governance platforms, as well as system studies of some universities, ministries, departments, and agencies. An Oyo State High Court sitting in Ibadan has sentenced one Mr. Afolabi Ademola Michael to 2 years imprisonment for duping a lawyer, Mr. Oladipo Olasokwe, of 6 million naira. Mr. Michael was brought before Justice M. Adegbola by ICPC on a 2-count charge that borders on fraudulent receipt of property and making false statements to a public officer. Counsel to ICPC Suleiman Abdulkarim had told the court that Mr. Michael in May 2013 deceitfully collected 6 million naira out of 11 million naira obtained through a garnisher order from Skybank Ibadan branch by Mr. Olasokwe, claiming to be one Yekini Suleiman, who was director in Divine Success Network, a company said to be into pension funds management. The court was told that this first offense of the convict contravenes Section 13 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000 and was punishable under Section 68 of the same Act. The convict was also accused of lying to a public officer when he claimed that the money he had received was part of the legal fees paid by Olasokwe, which was in violation of Section 25 subsection 1b of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000 and punishable under the same section. Justice Adegbola, after taking plea of allocutus of the convict, sentenced him to 2 years imprisonment without an option of fine.
Let's we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they want to.
Come on, for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Corruption not in my country.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, madam.
My name is Alero.
I am not sick. I just need you to help put your stamp on this medical report. I want to tender it at my office as a sick leave. I'll pay 10,000 naira.
Ma'am, that is impersonation. I'm not a doctor.
Oga, be like say this English no go pay. I go increase the money to 20,000 naira. I beg. You know, if I give you that 20,000, as you wide so, you know, if it still help your condition more. So, you don't say you spread well.
As I spread like virus, I'll be.
You talk.
Come out! If person come your hospital, talk say make you give am fake medical report, make you go take collect sick leave. Talk and say no, na corruption, not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
It is in the light of the many complaints by high commissions and embassies that ICPC launched investigations into the visa procurement processes. To further address the visa scam problem, ICPC also recently held a national seminar for stakeholders on curbing the menace in Nigeria. The result of the seminar was that stakeholders proffered suggestions on how to prevent a visa scam. Mr. Abia Odofia, ICPC's Deputy Director handling the visa scam investigations, speak on the matter. We would like to find out, sir, ICPC, how did we get on the tail of visa scammers?
Well, visa scam is simply the falsification, forgery, and anyway, manipulation of facts and information in the visa process. So you may have the falsification of marriage certificates, age certificates, education certificates, employment records. In fact, any record that you may use in the visa process. So once you manipulate any of these documents, of course, you may have a visa scam. And may be done by anybody, both private and official persons. So visa scam is simply the falsification, forgery, or manipulation of documents in the visa process. Okay, so we came into this sometime in 2013 when the U.S. Embassy and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs informed us and brought certain suspicious requests concerning diplomatic notes made by certain individuals. So we investigated those suspicious diplomatic notes, and we found many of them to be false. And we found that certain protocol officers were involved in the process. For instance, they included names of persons not in the public service or in the employment of that particular agency, simply to either for certain amount of money or to assist the person to travel. And our fear then again was simply to ensure that we don't allow miscreants or criminals to exploit the process, because when they get overseas or get abroad, it's a corporate and national image that may be hampered or otherwise compromised. So we worked with the immigration department or service to ensure that people that are having passports are eligible, because in some cases we see people who are not in public service having official passports. That is also a cause of concern, because how do you permit persons who are not in public service to be in possession of official passport meant only for high-ranking public officials? So that was why we came in, and we made arrests, we investigated, and of course we prosecuted certain persons. So far, about 15 people have been prosecuted and have been convicted, and so many are still pending in court. So we also are working with other embassies like the British High Commission, the Irish, the Chinese, the Brazilian embassies, the Indian High Commission. So these are just a few of these embassies who have been collaborating with us to check this menace.
Okay. You made mention of agents.
Yes.
So, in the first place, how do you think touts and miscreants have constituted themselves into visa scammers?
Well, in any process where there is a compromise, either by officials or private individuals, there must be a middleman. Of course, we call them touts or agents. So, once there is a loophole, you have touts, you have persons who want to just make or exploit that loophole. And they come in because certain people would not want to abide by the rule or the law. They want to bypass the process. So the agent or the tout is very eager to be of service to such people. And of course, when you have unscrupulous public officers who approve certain persons who are not in service to be on the diplomatic notes, of course, they use agents. They will not use those in service because they may raise those red flags. So these are some of the areas that we find that touts are used. But importantly, when some Nigerians want to beat the process, they want to bypass the process, they want it fast, they want it cheaper. Of course, they believe that well. I think in some cases when the process is complex, like we find some platforms of some embassies, they are not so easily accessible to most Nigerians and most applicants. So they want to use agents or they employ agents to get this thing done for them.
Do you think enforcement alone can solve the visa scam problem?
Well, enforcement alone cannot. Just like the mandate of the Commission says, we believe that a continuous system review of the process will be of help to solving this problem. Two, we believe that education, public enlightenment, when we invite the agents, we invite the public officials, we invite individuals, the travelers or applicants. You discuss this with them, you tell them what the problems are and how to get around them. I think these are the areas. And importantly, the embassy should also make the process simpler and easier for the applicants. Some platforms are so difficult for you to access, and if you can access, what you do, you run to the agents. So we believe if they are cheaper, if they are easily accessible, and of course integrity of the process of the officials in the public service who are to assess documents, endorse those who are traveling in the government's name and government funds. You don't include private persons who are not supposed to be on that list. Of course, we will check that.
Mr. Enosa Omogibo, a lawyer, is handling one of such cases. He tells us more.
Visa scam cases are species of criminal cases that are rooted deeply in forgery and making false information. Sometimes it's also observed that they involve agents acting for two or more persons for predetermined considerations. So prosecution of visa scam cases usually is undertaken under sections 363, 364, and 360 of the Penal Code. And these are provisions that make provisions for forgery, using as genuine forged documents. And then under section 26(1)(c) of the ICPC Act, sections providing for conspiracy, especially where two or more persons agree to do such things, for predetermined consideration. And again, under section 17(1)(c) of the ICPC Act. And that section provides for an agent knowingly using documents that the principal is interested in, that he knows contains some false information. And this is especially in respect of people, public officers who prepare note verbals, and they include names of people who don't really work in the agency for request for note verbals. So once investigation reveals this kind of persons, they are prosecuted under section 17(1)(c) of the ICPC Act. Finally, some people would say, why should the ICPC even prosecute visa scam cases? Why not concentrate on main corruption that they were set up to fight against? I'll quickly draw attention to the preamble to the ICPC Act itself, and I'll read that very quickly. It says, an act to prohibit and prescribe punishment for corrupt practices and other related offenses. The operative word there is other related offenses. And to my mind, any crime that people set out to enrich themselves by conferring some kind of advantage on another person that he ordinarily is not deserving of will come under other related offenses. And it will be perfect for the ICPC to prosecute crimes of visa scam based on the provisions of this law.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better. Let's make Nigeria great again. ICPC, they want to hand for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
ICPC is fighting visa scam in Nigeria in fulfillment of its mandate as contained in Section 6A of its enabling law, which empowers it to fight corruption in all forms. The Commission therefore urges Nigerians to provide it with all useful information that can help in the eradication of visa scam in the country. Thank you for watching, and see you same time, same station next week. I am Murna Barnabas Atiai.